Hey guys!
Hello. The
So
dance.
I've been manic all day, but Lauren, who claims to be super calm and peaceful and just, working in her zone, is scrambling right now because her site is on local looking really pretty. She's worked all day for you guys, but she's trying to get everything on the staging site for everyone to follow along if you guys want
Yeah,
to click. So while I might seem high energy, someone is maybe a little
maybe.
out of reality. And
Yeah, maybe I
also,
should have been a little bit more manic, huh? Like 15
no.
minutes beforehand, I was like, oh, this doesn't live anywhere except for on my computer.
So calm.
It's kind of, it is technically on the staging site right now, but there's something still weird with it. So I'm going to screen share and just do everything locally.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we have 5 people. You guys, please introduce yourselves. We can't see you. We can only see a number. Give us your name. Say hello. I love seeing who else here.
5 is our all-time record, by the way, guys. We've only gotten
It is.
to 5 one other time. And we're on day 8.
Look. We're excited to have a few folks to help us
I actually
build this
really kind
out.
of love it.
I do too.
So,
I mean, there are like 20 people who have actually purchased this theme that our core 5 are making. So,
yeah.
you're building something bigger than yourself. Thanks, guys.
Yay, Jessica's here, Eden's here, Christopher's here.
I'm not seeing any of these comments. It's because I'm in private chat.
All right, Goof.
I'll have to zoom these guys. Yay, Christopher, Eden, Jessica. Wait, we have 2 more. Name yourselves. Do we count as one?
Maybe they're stalking. No, we don't count. It doesn't count us.
Good.
Okay, so loose agenda for what we're going to do today. I just sent it to Hannah because, I decided that everything seems great last minute. So essentially all about patterns. We have starter patterns we're going to get into as well, and then like a little bit with templates. Like we can set some up by just using them. That is an example of using patterns. So I'm going to talk a lot about like how to use patterns, what they are, how you use them, how you create them, how you edit them, some like quirks about them, things like that. But I think that a lot of people, if you've used patterns on your site, you've probably used them in a really specific way. But this will be like, we've set up all these pretty blocks here. Here's how you insert them using patterns kind of thing. So let me move my people over to this side thing so I can see you guys, and then I shall present and we'll kind of hop into it. I'm closing some things right now, guys, so that my computer runs a little faster. Like, I'm probably not going to listen to music while we're on this live call. Probably can close that.
You might want to razzle dazzle us with your excellent taste in music. Just 50-50 shot.
Actually, Christopher can testify that I have only been listening to one playlist, so like 50 songs on repeat for probably 8 days now. I think he's probably getting a little bit tired of listening to the same music as me.
I think I enjoyed it one day and one of the songs got stuck in my head.
So I use Apple Music and I listen to their alt control.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's whatever's on there. It changes like barely once a week. Like just they add a couple songs or something. So it's like 50 songs that are just on repeat. So it's alternative. They're kind of slower. They're a vibe. They're all I listen to right now. Okay,
That's how you made all these fun patterns. Hi, Laura.
All right. Look, guys, the agenda. It's very official.
Yeah, in Slack, when you've been sitting in the private chat every other day.
152. Well, I don't have mania today, so just like I'm a little bit lazy and like wherever I'm at is where it goes. Like the first place I land is just like, okay, that sounds great. Okay, we're gonna talk about how to find and create and edit patterns. There's 2 ways to do it pretty much always, inserter and inside of the post, or like in a post listing. We'll talk about synced patterns and detaching. This is where some of the weird stuff comes up, and then starter patterns. I didn't really set those up completely because remember, I'm doing everything right now very slowly. But I'll talk about a little bit what it's supposed to do. And still show you like whether it does that or not, how you can work with those. Okay, so just to reiterate from what Hannah was trying to say earlier, I'm working on my local site, so this won't exactly match the staging site that you guys can normally visit. So you won't be able to see everything I do live this time. However, I will get this published as soon as possible. Okay, so patterns. Well, actually, let me show you this. Remember all these blocks we were creating? Essentially, I took every single individual block and I made a pattern out of it. I haven't done all of them because I wanted to do some on video with you guys, but most of them now exist as a pattern. And so they can be inserted and reused really easily. So like this pink bar, one pattern. These images with buttons underneath, a second pattern. This blue bar, the third, etc. We currently have, I think, 62. And we still have, I think, 24 to add. No, maybe that's with the 62. There's a lot, right? We're gonna talk about how to deal with that. So first of all, inside of posts, I'm just gonna go into one of these. You could do this in a page as well, anywhere that you have the blue inserter button. When you go to patterns, remember I talked about like there's these creator categories. I made some new ones, so it looks like we're up to 6 now. And I mentioned that those were all of like the default patterns. Well, I went in here and I put in patterns for everything. So now everything we've created also exists as a pattern. I'm going to show you how we do this. But the upside of this is that everything's like created. I just have to replace the content. It's really easy for me to insert it. Like I can see it visually and then just add it in. They're organized pretty well. So I know if I need an H1 at the top of the page, these ones all start with an H1. If I want to do something within the sidebar, or in the post content next to the sidebar, I'd pull from these, which I haven't set all of them up. These are the 4 that we created to go inside of the sidebar, etc. So like there's this organization that's going to help as well. And then I did do some like naming patterns or like structure as well. So like anything that's going to display in a row has the word row at the beginning versus we've got something that display in a grid. And right now, these purple ones are the ones I've created, but they're not always going to have this purple. We'll talk about that in a second. So you can insert them through here. Let me go. Let's add after that. And I can just throw patterns in here. I mean, this is a post, so I probably wouldn't want to do all of these full width ones. But like, it's so easy for me to make a layout. This was going backwards, which is really interesting. I haven't seen that happen before. But now you can see how easy it is to make pattern, like layouts out of patterns. We just dropped blocks in. I didn't have to do the copy paste. I mean, of course we have to update the content still, but like I can visually see what it's going to look like. And so I can say, okay, well, this one it's not like full width. It's got some white around it. So I want something that's going to have a background. So like this one's full width to break it up. And then same here. This looks kind of good with the button logos directly underneath. But between those, I want something that has a background color, maybe like this one, to kind of break that stuff up. So it's just so, this is like where I've wanted to be all week. It's like showing how cool this stuff is. We've been building everything, but now that it's built, like creating is so much easier. All right. Let me talk about, I've sold you on patterns, hopefully. So I think I want to talk about how you can edit patterns. So let's do that. I'm going to close this. I'm just in my post content. Here, let's convert these to blocks. I think I had done that on the staging site previously, but I did not here locally. Okay, so this is inside of a post, which is really silly of me. I think it'll be fine. So the way I have all these patterns set up right now is I have them set up as synced patterns. And that's because we're still working on them and I want to be able to continue working on them. But when they're in your site, they won't be synced patterns. So you're not going to have to worry about that. So I know that's the way I'm doing it right now is a little confusing. Like you're seeing that purple outline that usually indicates is going to change everywhere on the site. I'm doing that intentionally because I want us to be able to like make changes and see that across the site. And then those will finally like eventually get pulled into a like static pattern. So you're not going to have the problem where you see changes happen everywhere. But this is still relevant because we're going to talk about sync patterns as well. Okay, so if you want to edit a pattern and you created it, if it's a synced pattern, you can click here and you can edit the original. It'll take you to like a new page where you can edit just that one pattern. So this will only show up if it's a synced pattern. If it's not a synced pattern, any changes you make are one time, so you'll just edit it directly in the post content. It'll look like these, like everything we've been editing previously, where it just has the bar and you work in this bar to make changes. You only have to click edit original if it's a synced pattern, which we'll talk about more in a second. If you want to see all of the patterns that you've created, you can go into here, the 3 dots, pull down options, and then go to manage patterns. I'm going to open that in a new tab. And it's going to show you all of your patterns. So this is like, this looks familiar. Hopefully this is that like site editor. And then you've got all of your patterns. You can view them based on the organization that has been used. So these ones that say not synced, these are from the like original base theme. These are the ones that we were playing with and styling. But then as we scroll down, the ones that say synced are currently the ones that we've been working on. So eventually you're going to see not synced for all of these new patterns as well. You're going to see them as not synced. So you insert them, you change them. They never like update across your site. And if you wanted to change, like see that these are locked, you would need to duplicate it and then choose what you want to name it. So this is like creating a pattern. We're going to talk about a couple ways to create a pattern, but this is relevant, or this is helpful because let's say that you have this pattern, this feature email, and you want to create a version of it that has the light blue background. Then you would come in here, duplicate, and then like feature email. I would personally call this like secondary alt. You can name it whatever you want, light blue. You can keep it in the same category. You can add categories if you want. Like they have all these default ones. I created some for creator so that you know that those are the custom ones we've done. And then you could do like Lauren favorites and add that. I would press enter and now it adds Lauren favorites. Synced and not synced. We're going to get into this in a second, but synced is when it has that purple border around it, and it means that if you change it in one post, it's going to change it everywhere. So if you edit the original, all instances of it will update. Synced patterns are really helpful for certain things, like if you weren't using our shop plugin and you wanted to recommend a certain product, then it would be really helpful for that because you would say my favorite blender. And then later, if you replaced your blender, you would update that synced pattern. So that would be a really good use case for synced patterns. I see them used for like email opt-ins as well, especially if you have multiple types of email opt-ins and you're manually inserting those. You might say like, you might insert a synced pattern for your recipe opt-in versus your craft opt-in. And then that way, when you update your recipe opt-in, it'll update across any post that has that synced pattern inserted in it. So we're going to duplicate a non-synced version just so we can look at those later. So here's the secondary alt. This is the original, one's synced, one's not. Let's come up to the very top of this post and insert feature email. I need to go into patterns and I need to save and refresh this because it needs to pull in the latest. Okay, so we have the synced one, the non-synced one, they inserted at the bottom. That's fine. Synced one, purple outline, edit original, non-synced, just a block. I change it here, it changes nowhere else. I change this one. Well, I can't even change it directly in here. I have to like intentionally go into edit original. And that's actually a newer change. It's probably because people kept accidentally changing their synced blocks or like deleting the content in it because they meant to delete the sync, like the block itself, but they deleted everything in it and they would save it and it would be sad. We had a lot of clients do that actually. Okay, so for this one, If I make this a light blue background with black text, let me just save that. And then I'm going to refresh, or I'll just edit this feature email secondary alt. If I come in here, no change has been made here because those are not synced. Okay, let me look at my agenda. What have we done? How to find patterns, blue button in the inserter, or when you click here and you go to manage patterns. Check. Creating patterns. Okay, we've talked about how you can duplicate patterns from this interface. You can also create new patterns. So add a new pattern. Don't worry about doing a template part. Just do patterns. You'll be fine. Works just similar to the other. And then you would create a pattern from scratch. So you probably would copy paste something in there. We're not going to do that. Or this one is much more fun. If you've created something inside of a post, so let me create something real quick, just as our demo. I'm going to select both of these if I can. Group them, give them a background. Okay, if this was the pattern and I wanted to be able to reuse this, like I set it up and I want to be able to reuse it regularly, the 3 dots on that group, I can click to create pattern from here as well. And then again, it gives you those exact same options. So there's probably going to be a lot of use cases where you'll want to create your own patterns. And I've seen people who have, 100 plus synced patterns. It's really easy to do. I would just make sure that you're giving them like names and categories to keep yourself organized, because it's also very easy to have a lot, like a lot of synced patterns. Whether you cannot change whether it is synced or non-synced. So this is important to like choose. Like you can change the name, you can change the categories, you can change the entire content of the block. But as far as I'm aware, there's no way to change whether it's synced or not after the fact. So you have to decide whether you're always going to insert it and change the content, or whether everything in it is going to stay the same.
And if you mess it up, could you just duplicate it and then unsync?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Or like delete and recreate, any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, editing patterns, did that early on. That's this, if you have a synced pattern, clicking edit original, or when you're in this interface, coming in here. So you can't do ones that are locked. So anything added through your theme can't be edited. So when I move all of these into the theme, you won't be able to edit them. You'll only be able to duplicate and create your own version. But we'll even talk about how you can organize that. But here, you just click in and edit. I think you can also just click on it and it'll go in and edit. Okay, synced patterns we've talked about. I said there was weird stuff, but I don't really think there is weird stuff anymore now that they're forcing you to click on edit original. The only thing is if you came in and clicked like edit original and then you go back and I want to save this post, it's going to say, do you actually want to save that pattern? And if you want your change to show up where I added the exclamation mark and this, yes. I think you guys saw 2 or 3 days ago that if you change something and you don't want it to show up, you can just uncheck and that pattern won't save, but like this post itself will. So now the post has this content in it, but my pattern does not have the exclamation mark. So that's pretty helpful to know. Detaching patterns is pretty helpful though. So let's say you make a synced pattern. So let's say this is a synced pattern and normally I want it to say exactly this, but then I have like one instance where I want it to say something else. In order to change it only in one place, you would insert it and then click detach. So this is essentially going to clone all the content of that synced pattern and make it into its like own new content. So now it doesn't have that purple outline. I don't have to click edit original. This is now like an unsynced pattern. Does that make sense? Am I moving too fast?
It makes sense. I'm debating if you're moving too fast.
A lot of it is like probably just like using the The theme's going to come with its own patterns. So the only reason you would need to do a lot of these things other than find a pattern in here in one of these categories that say creator is if you're wanting to make changes or duplicate or create your own, reorganize, anything like that, then it's probably just like enough to know how to get here in the editor. And so like if you clicked, I think if you go here, appearance editor, navigate to patterns, here's all of your patterns again. So from here, you're going to probably be able to do everything else you need.
I never go there.
That's
I'm one
okay.
track mind. I'm creating content. I'm clicking the plus button. I'm figuring out what I want. I'm sticking it in there. Or I'm starting from a starting point and a template and just editing as I go.
All right. So you want to do starting points then?
Yes.
These ones are fun. I only created 2 so far based on content we'd already made. But the bummer is that I can't get them to show up for some reason. So we're going to not think about that. We're going to do it another way. So if I go to add new page, normally what's going to happen here is there's going to be a pop-up screen that says, what do you want to start with? It looks a lot like this, but it'll say, it might say choose a template. It might say choose a starting pattern. I'm not really sure what it says anymore, but it looks pretty much like this. Only it'll be a bunch of long pages because it has a lot of content in it. And when you add that, so this is new homepage, TBD, right? Like we're going to replace the current homepage and we want to make a new one. These creator starting points, which again, right now, I just have them as synced patterns, but in reality, they would get inserted as one-time blocks and they would be in that pop-up. You'd click on them. Delete this. And then like it has all of those blocks already inserted in order. And I'm just updating the content. So this is what I feel like this feature right here is what I feel like is a game changer in terms of workload for a lot of people. I know that this one is like the homepage, but we also have one for a category. Starting points. We've got a starting category. So let's look at that. Oh, the scroll. So if this was the top of your category, here you've got everything inserted already and you are just filling in the content. This would say like all recipes or something. Okay, so we can do them for categories. That's really helpful because you guys are looking to build out. Yeah, Laura, very cool. You guys are probably looking to build out your categories. Like that's a big thing that is not possible in a lot of themes, especially without some sort of like hacky thing. Now you can create templates, you can build out your categories. There's a starting point for it so that you're not like doing it from scratch. Love that. Think about your posts. If you have a template that you follow for your posts, then you can now decide. What's that?
Or 4 different ones. I have one like for my roundups,
Yes.
one for a certain, like depending on the category, I have different content in my posts so that I have a different template made for each one. And that is just so nice to plug and play because if I'm left to my own devices, I forget that I have expectations for different categories.
I remember a while ago, people were really using like Google Docs as their template or something like that. And they would send that to their VA, like have them fill it out, and then it had to get translated into WordPress. Yeah, that's not necessary anymore. Like your entire template can live in WordPress. And so for your post, just like you're saying, we can create starting points for a recipe post versus a craft post versus a roundup post. You said for different categories. So if you have like business ideas versus party ideas, different templates for that. They probably have different blocks in them. And the starting point is really helpful in my opinion because it usually comes up in that pop-up. And so you can just choose what you want to be in the pop-up. Like it's just like you click and it's there. You don't have to come in here and then click patterns and then go down to starting points and then scroll through and look for the ones you're looking for. But I think patterns in general are really interesting because you can have smaller patterns as well. So right now I have examples of like a single row of content, and then I have an example of a entire page. But if you knew that in certain posts you were going to have a shop this post followed by a get on my newsletter followed by a see more related posts section, that's not on all posts, but it's on some, then you could just create a block, a pattern for those 3 blocks, and then insert that as needed. And so the way I would do that is, again, like inside of this editor, I would do block 1, block 2, block 3. These would be what I inserted. And then would I group those? Can I create a pattern with all 3? All 3? Yeah, that was awesome. Created a pattern with all 3 of those. So now those are all 3 top level blocks that exist inside of, I created a synced pattern, but you wouldn't have to. You could just do a pattern that like gets inserted because you're probably changing the shop this post content. Your patterns can have a mixture of synced and unsynced content in them. That's maybe a little advanced. Should I do it?
Yeah, it's over my head. Let's see.
Unsynced pattern. So I'm going to make this create pattern. It's unsynced. Because of that, you can't tell it's a pattern right here. Yes, Christopher, I will go over searching patterns and using the shortcut. But when I go into patterns, add new pattern, this will be unsynced pattern, new pattern. I can have a pattern of patterns, guys. Okay, so this would be like unsynced pattern followed by all 3. Realistically, though, this just inserted as content, but I would want this to be, it doesn't matter. Synced and unsynced patterns combined into another unsynced pattern. Fun. Hannah's like, not fun at all. Move on, Lauren. Am I mind reading correctly?
Yep.
I love this stuff. This is fun for me. Okay, let's talk about searching patterns. When you're adding into a new page, I know I talked about like when you go into patterns, you can look in here, like there's 5, 6 categories, and they're kind of organized in here, and you can click into them and they've got decent names and they've got images and everything, right? So like you can just go look. But you can also up here click search and like type in call to action. Okay, we've got a sidebar one called call to action. Let's look for posts, anything that's going to display posts. I mean, it's mostly searching for what's in the name. It can have some other results that show up for reasons, technical reasons I don't have to go over, but mostly you're probably going to be looking at whatever's in that pattern name. What you saw me doing is, and I actually have done this a lot, is it says type / to choose a block. So I start with /. It gives me some suggestions, but it searches through your patterns. So I can search through rows here. I don't get to see the, the like demonstration, the preview. But if I know the name of what I'm looking for, and they'll probably be blocks you use most often. I have clients who ask me to make blocks, and I'm like, you have that block. Because there's so much that like it is hard to keep track of what you have. Yeah. Like we've created at least 60 blocks. I know we have at least 62 blocks that we're creating.
Insane.
So it's so easy to be like, oh, I wish I could do that, and then to go through and look and be like, oh, I can do that. I also want to show you guys that you can import patterns. Is it through here? Yeah, so if we were to make new patterns, let's say that were not part of the theme, but you wanted to use them, you could import those patterns from JSON and you'd have them in your site and you could then use them and like edit them as normal. So those wouldn't be locked because they're not part of your theme, but they can be imported. And so like if we took one of these blocks and exported it, then your friend could go into their site and import it. Depending on their like theme and settings, it might not look perfect out of the box, but it is a good way to like get started with stuff.
Teaser alert, new patterns launching soon.
We've made so many patterns for this particular site. Like what extra patterns would we do for it?
Yeah, if you have a
And
feature
also, if you guys want more patterns, you just ask and I just make.
Yeah.
But like I said, you guys are gonna have to remind me what patterns I said I would make that I have not done. gonna need reminders.
There's just so much. It's awesome though.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it all come together today.
I think I wanted to show, I was going to create some more of these patterns and I was going to clean up. Like, we're not keeping this. Delete you. I created some in here that we don't need. Just delete them. Don't need you. Don't need you. It says we have 66 patterns. Some of those are from your theme. So I did want to talk about how we're going to get rid of plugins or patterns we don't like. Patterns we don't like don't have to show up. Normally, when they're in your theme, you can't do anything with them. Like, I don't want this basic pattern. Why is it there? Get rid of it. But I can't. And so it's just going to show up and that's going to drive me crazy. So guess what we did? We made a plugin.
We're all surprised. Because Lauren loves formatting and she cares how things are organized. And it is really nice.
I really care about organization, guys. Christopher says there's no easy undo when you delete patterns, so be careful. Christopher actually does a lot of the pattern work for Once Coupled. So I was walking with him today and I was like, you realize you're going to do the next live, right? Like, the next live that's on patterns especially, that's you. That's you all day.
I feel like that comment is really haunted. He's like, I have learned the hard way. Everything else about block themes, you just click the back button. But that one, oh no. It's gone forever.
Yeah. Okay. This is the list of patterns right now. When all of these are ones that are registered like by plugins or the theme. They're not the patterns that have been registered by the user. Plugins that are registered from the plugin or patterns that are registered by a plugin or by a theme are accessed through like files. But if you save a pattern on your site, it gets saved in your database, which is how all of your content gets saved. So this is only going to pull in patterns that you have no control over and give you control over them. It's going to let you just remove them. Like if you don't want to see those patterns, we're going to uncheck them and they're going to go away. There's not a way to uncheck all of them quickly. It's on the to-do list, but I'm going to do them all manually. Your list is going to be a lot longer because you're going to have, you know, I don't know how many this is, but you're going to have over 60. So now when I go in to create a new page, and let's say I'm going to try and do, oh, I actually wanted these guys. Let's say I try and do brand logos. It won't show up anymore. Patterns in here, it used to say 66. We've removed a bunch, so now we're down to 43. These are the starting points I can't get to show up in the pop-up. I've clearly done something wrong. Let's not think about it. That was like 15 minutes before I started trying to migrate the site. Like 30 minutes before this, I was like, oh, I should work on those starting points. They're also called starter patterns. Okay. I'll get these working so that we have more. Yeah, so basically, if you don't want to have all those patterns show up that you're probably not going to use, this plugin, very helpful. That also impacts the list in here. So previously when we looked through some of these categories, you saw ones that didn't have the purple. Those no longer will show up because we've gotten rid of them. Remember, the purple is only temporary. It's on our site while I'm working on it, but these will eventually become normal, non-synced patterns. Okay.
Good. Purple scares me.
You could mess things up if you don't know exactly where that's used. Let me close these. We surely don't need them. And I want to just demonstrate how I've been creating these. This is really helpful, not because you guys have to create your own patterns, although I'm sure that you guys will. But if you're wanting to create your own starter patterns, then this is probably the best way you would do it. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier. For starter patterns, when you for starter patterns, the only way presently to create starter patterns and have them show up in that pop-up is for them to be added through the theme. There's not a way for us to create starter patterns through the database. Like, you as a user cannot create them yet. You can only create some and then put them inside of this category for you to search for or look through. So that is probably the biggest remaining caveat with patterns, I think, is that those starter patterns are really cool. But I think the coolest way to insert them is through that pop-up, and you won't be able to do that yet. However, you'll have access to them in here. So it's not like you, oh, look, they're actually showing up in here right now. It's not like you will, I accidentally clicked on it. It's not like you'll actually come through and create these starter point patterns at this time. However, it gets so mad when I insert. Well, this page has like an abnormal amount of blocks on it right now. So I think it's just a little cranky about that.
You've just done too much. You did all the things, and now the site can barely handle the excitement.
Okay, so I've named all of these groups just for my own purposes. You don't have to actually add names to them, but if you do want to organize, 3 dots, rename, you can pick whatever you want. I do use this a lot personally. From here, so I'm going to just copy that name. To create a pattern, remember we can select multiple. So if you wanted to create your own starter pattern, you just select multiple and then go to create pattern. I'm creating all the individual ones right now. So I'm going to go to create pattern, give it a name. And then I've been adding, I already have these sorted because I was starting to work on that like demo page you guys requested where you can see all the blocks. Hopefully you're already a little excited because you can see them all in the pattern inserter. But these are anything that belongs in the custom category is being shown right here. And that's all I've been doing. So I copy the name. Create pattern. Oh, wait. Don't forget data category. You can do it later, so it's not really a big deal. You can add to multiple categories. I just have it set up so that it's not really needed.
Okay.
I don't know what I've done. Okay. Saving this, I'll do these different, or I'll do these later because it's just that tedious, like copy the name, paste it, add it to a category. I wanted to show one other thing that I just remembered and I cannot remember now. I don't know. Okay, let's do questions. Are there any questions?
Do 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 do. Lauren sipping kombucha. You love waiting for questions.
There might not be any.
Yeah.
This is the day that I was like, this one's going to be so exciting because I feel like it really demonstrates how easy everything is to insert and like how pretty it can be and how much more usable it is. Like we've been creating the blocks, but you just pop them in. You just.
Just work.
Yeah, see, Jessica says this is pretty intuitive.
Okay, so if you don't have questions, who's excited?
Hannah's
Who's
like,
pumped up?
I
Who
need
wants
the
to play
hype.
the theme? Yeah, I need energy, guys.
So here's what I was gonna do with the rest of the time. Obviously, watching me sync these patterns and test and edit everything, very boring.
Please don't make me sit through that.
Right? I was gonna edit some of the templates to use the new patterns.
Yes.
Yay, Laura, thanks.
Excited.
And then that way we could look at like updating default patterns to look the way you want. Also, whatever we do will just be the new default pattern, but you would still know how to go in and change it if you wanted to. All right, so I'm going to do appearance editor. We're going to go to templates. And then we're going to play with some of these templates. Some of these are just like boring ones. But so like boring ones, that's like all the landing ones and the blank one. I don't want to do anything with them. However, I know we didn't do the 404 one. We really haven't done this post one, which isn't really critical. I feel like the 404 is the easiest thing to start with. Okay, so inside of here, I've got this header, page not found. Then it goes into just like most recent posts. Let's add new stuff instead. All right, so I want to have a header at the beginning. I am going to do a little bit of editing on this because I know what the 404 should have on it.
Are you going to tell us what the 404 should have on it as you go?
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to do something similar to this. I have some other blocks that haven't been set up as patterns yet. That's definitely the one I wanted to use, but we're going to use this one instead. I want to have some top posts here, so I think I want that to be like manual posts. So I'm going to look for a row, and so custom is just going to be like anything that you're having to like manually do. These have H1s in sidebar, the like little ones that we've made. Query loops are going to pull in content automatically. So this is based on like the functionality. If custom is manual, query loops is automatic. Starting points are going to be like big, lots and lots of patterns all together. And then with sidebar is going to be, but has almost nothing right now, the patterns that we're creating to go inside of post content. So remember that when we did some of the stuff yesterday, we like decreased the padding a little bit and changed the font sizes and made the spacing smaller, just knowing that it was always going to be a maximum width of 730, never bigger. And so we wanted to be able to fit content in and have it not look like weirdly large. So that's why there's some of the exact same patterns will be in here, just with mild differences based on knowing that it's going to be inside of the content area. Okay, so I'm going to do some manual content underneath because I want to have like top posts or something like that. Not that one. I want it to be maybe this one. Grid manual. Underneath that, I want like a call to action. I think I want like a subscribe. And then below that, we'll do some posts by category. Let's do the pink one with a pink background as well. And then at the very bottom, maybe I want to do like some sort of authority thing. So like the brand logos. Oh, maybe we should do categories. What does it look like if I do both? Just so. Probably looks better without this one. Kind of. Okay, we've updated the template. This is a I do force 404. That's not a page. So it will show up as a 404. Any broken link would work here. All right, we're going to replace this. We're going to replace most recent posts. It's going to, oh no. It didn't start there. I'm working on locals. It's going to start here. And then we'd fill in the content as we go down. So the only change, the change that I need to make other than removing these top two sections is that this, so I'm going to detach this because I don't want to actually edit the true pattern. Detach. This is just like it's H1 page title here. If I want it to show page not found, then I actually need to put in the title block, which this title block will pull in the name of whatever the page is, which apparently does not work here. 404. Not found. Maybe 404 doesn't have a page, like an automatic title. Maybe I have to leave the other block. Guys, I made these images with the AI, and I was really proud of this. How does that make you feel, Hannah?
It's like little, yeah, I have feelings. They're really thick. There's a lot going on there. It's like little pastry burgers.
They're macaroons.
Those are big macaroons.
I know. And those are the ones I described as tiny. I kept trying to say I wanted small ones, and they just kept getting bigger. So I drew the like triangle, and I was like, make me a pyramid of macaroons, hoping that that would make them look smaller.
They're so big. I would love to eat
so
one.
much fun.
Aren't the AI images fun? I love that you manually told it what to do, though.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So almost every image on the site now is some sort of AI image that better matches the aesthetic. I removed all of your images. How bad does that hurt you?
Hot roast. Rest in peace. I'm fine.
Okay, so we've done like a 404. I mean, I could actually come in and give this better example content. Ooh, we should talk about how to remove content. Guys. Detach.
Macro runes.
Macro
Pretty
runes.
patties.
Runes.
I'm with you on the patties. Just straight hamburger. That's what I see. Pastry hamburger.
Okay, here's the second most popular, most useful plugin that was also not created by Lauren. I'm certain my plugins are helpful. You guys just don't appreciate them. Did I show this one already? I'm so excited. It strips out all the content so you can start fresh, guys.
That was Christopher's idea, and it's
that one
incredible.
was Christopher's. It was amazing because can I undo it? It says no, you cannot actually. Oh, it does it one by one. It's so sad. We're almost there. Okay. Yeah, you cannot, it's mad at us. But I wanted if you saw the original patterns I was using, they didn't have any content in them when we started. But I have content in these. The reason I didn't put content into those was because it was just like going to be a pain for you to accidentally have Latin text on your site or something that's like not actually yours, linked somewhere else. So I really love this button. Christopher came up with the idea and created it, and it just clears everything. And then you don't have to worry about accidentally having a link or text that is not what you want it to be.
So nice.
The other thing for that's nice for that is, let's say that you want to have like a heading here, but you don't want this pre-title or the description. You actually don't have to delete those blocks. It doesn't do anything bad to keep them there. Like, let me click save. It just doesn't show up. Oh, this one does show up. Because I put a background on it and it's inside of a group. All right, I'm a liar. You have to delete it if you don't like it. Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. What a bummer.
Except I like the background, so it's
What's
not too
that?
bad. Except I like that background, so it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth it,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that the background would show up even if the item didn't, because I didn't expect it to output at all. I didn't expect it to output an empty, like, group paragraph. Okay, that's a little sad. Just delete it then. You can get it back later, it's fine. This is my whole template talk that I was like, we have to cancel that day because we've done all the templates now. I think that's it, guys. Hold.
The name of that plugin is Clear Content Button. Christopher should very proudly share a link of where to access it.
All right, so I need feedback from you guys. Should we do more stuff today? We're like not even at an hour, and I'm like, patterns, did them. You insert them.
They're super smart, super easy.
I
They
gave
make
you
your
guys
whole world.
more than enough information on how to do all the editing and creating and stuff that you don't have to do because they're all in the theme.
You're never going to do those things. You're going to click the add button.
I bet people do those things now.
Okay,
I'm willing to
these
bet.
are 5 overachievers. The
Mhm.
average user probably won't.
Should we all just go take a nap now? We're like, we did our site. It's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, this page is sad. Something happened and it looks like it's empty, but it's not.
I'm pretty sure I need to go buy a macaroon.
Actually, have you tried them before?
Mhm.
I don't like them that much.
I know, you say that every time.
Do I?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a
My
local
bad.
girl, and I pay $30 for 6 of them, and Ryan gets them at his work, like on Tuesdays. It's Wednesday. I don't know where I'm going to find her.
But why?
I know. I love her. Kathy says naps.
Right? Because we did it all. Like that's all of patterns. Like the best part of this site had the shortest day. Okay, so if I wanted to change the pink in some blocks, I duplicate it and then change it. Yes. Great point. Okay, so let's start from here. So appearance editor, patterns.
This is why you guys are friends, Kathy. Sorry, I'm still talking macaroons, but you've got you and Laura. Y'all are locked in on patterns. You got this.
Yeah. Okay, so oops, I didn't mean to actually click on it. This text call to action, it's a synced pattern, but really it'll say not synced and it'll say that it's locked. So what you would have to do is come in here and click duplicate. And then I'm going to call it like secondary. Keep it synced for us, but normally yours wouldn't be probably. Edit this. This would now be a pattern in your database. It wouldn't be part of the theme. You'd be able to edit and do whatever you want to it. And then you use your sidebar and you use all of the knowledge that you've gained on editing blocks and you click really fast so that you impress Hannah.
Woohoo, so fast. And then 60-something blocks become 1 million blocks.
And then now you have another version and it's blue. And you save that.
So
I made
fun.
this one synced, but I probably should have made it unsynced to better demonstrate what it would actually be like. Like, what if we duplicate this and then we just create it?
Oh boy.
Unsynced. So this is what yours would actually probably look like. It wouldn't have the purple here. It would say not synced. It wouldn't have a lock because you created it. And you'd have all of these options. And then let's say that you always want to use this blue version and you hate the pink version. But the pink version is like the theme pattern, so you can't get rid of it. Okay, well, that's where you would come. It's not going to show up in this because of the way it's added, but that's when you would come into patterns and then deselect whatever that one was called and say, I no longer want that pattern to show up because I made my own and I hate yours, Lauren.
And it will email Lauren letting you know that you did that.
It will not. You're a monster. It'll email me, another person hates your work, Lauren.
You should go take a nap.
I get a lot of those emails. Yeah, so to answer your question, Laura, yes, duplicate it, change it. That's if you want to do it on some blocks, but like I said, we need to actually make a version of the site that's not pink. In which case you would come in here and you would just edit the color you want. And then that would change all instances of pink to that other color.
I started to do that. Did you see the staging environment called Home Inspector site? I was going to try to mimic what I think Julie's husband has
Yeah.
in terms of colors. But then I got bored and I stopped. It's on my to-do.
Wow. Someone
know.
tell Julie that Hannah got bored by her husband's site.
It's not that I think being a home inspector is boring. It's that all that fast clicking, it's just not fun.
I love the fast clicking
I know.
and making AI images to put into the staging site.
AI patties.
Look, I made all of these. Can
So
you
much
can you
better.
tell they're not real? Don't look too hard. You actually don't want to know.
They look great.
The proportions are really off in some of them. Look, Eden's gonna tattle on you to Julie right now.
I will work on her husband's site later.
All right, guys, we're gonna nap soon if you guys don't have more questions. Or if there's nothing else you want to see. Look, Laura's also gonna tattle on you.
Man.
You're
So
done
sad.
for. You're done
Yeah.
for.
I know.
I could make other templates, but I feel like that's not as good of a use of everyone's time anymore. I don't think I'm prepared to actually change this to a different color scheme currently to like rebrand it. I think I have to like practice that before we get on live. So that might be a non-live video.
That'd be a fun video though. I'm confident I
Yeah.
would mess a lot up.
I'm confident you would too.
Thanks, Boo.
I wish I hadn't named like everything Feature Fest so that I can't figure out where I'm going ever. Oh, look, someone's updating links to it. Wild. Someone just updates this page. Patterns and page templates. I kind of like thought this day would be longer and I'm like, did I miss something? I don't think so.
No. Well, I think that a lot of it will just be based on your content and how you're using it. So it's not super helpful from a dev perspective because it's just so content centric, but
Yeah.
it's still super useful.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go then. And we'll wrap up a whole hour early. Hannah like can dance and celebrate.
Woo!
Tomorrow's plugins. So bring your plugin questions. Tomorrow's probably gonna be shows how time-saving patterns and templates can be.
Yep.
Love it, Christopher. Tomorrow's probably gonna be really based on questions you guys have and specific plugins you guys want to go over. So make sure that you guys like post what kind of plugins you guys want to talk about. Some of them, like you saw with WP Recipe Maker, kind of boring for me to talk about, but I can at least show you like what the limitations are. And then if there's something we need to overcome, I'll put it on my list of stuff to do before we publish the theme.
Cool. Kathy, that's a plugin block request.
Regarding featuring other recipes within your post, that particular block. What's a plugin request? Featuring other recipes within your
It's
post.
Kathy's statement there, an idea for us to bring on plugin day.
Oh. But we have that block, don't we?
So Kathy, are you asking like, yeah, we have the block, but like how to make it smart? How to insert it in fun ways?
Kathy, give me your question.
Show the block.
Can you hear my nails?
Yes.
It's like my favorite thing to do. Can you recap the email block on Erin's site?
Can you change the name or can you feature other bloggers' recipes?
Great question. Let's do Kathy's first, and then and we're like 20 seconds ahead, so we're really just like waiting.
You witches. FSRI.
So, let me close this one. Let me come over here. We're gonna look at the page that has these, maybe. We'll start here. This page. So for a query block, you can only do content that's local to your site. So let me cheat. Query loops, all of these blocks, these loops are only going to be posts that are on your site, and it's going to pull in everything automatically. So it pulls in the image, the title, the link to the post, all of that, but it's like only local pulling in. If you want to actually like have links to other places as well, then you'll want to use a manual content block. And so that's going to be somewhere inside of custom. These here. So row features, I have one somewhere. Row manual, this block right here. It looks exactly same as the other ones, but this, instead of having a query loop where you select the post you want or pulling in from a specific category or anything like that, if you actually look at what this block does, everything in this is manual. So you're setting the image. This allows you to change the title as well. So like you said, Kathy, you can change the name. And that way, if you're wanting to link to one of your recipes with a like different keyword, then you're able to do that through here. So this particular block is the one that you would use, and then it's not limited to your site. So you would just pick whatever images you want. Open media library, your image is here. If you're going to hot link to your friend, which I don't recommend, current media URL, and then you can put in the media that's on their site. But like I said, probably don't do that. Yeah, we can change the title, but we just have to use this one. And I kind of figured that would be the case for you, Kathy, that was one of Ty's suggestions.
When she said linking silo, I was just going back to Austin. That's all I could
Yeah,
think
exactly. When we went to Texas, and I was like, I remember Ty specifically wanting to change headers and like link text to have custom names. So yeah, we would just do that in a manual block.
Cool.
Okay. So Erin's email. Which one? What do you want me to recap, Laura? Is it this one right here? And what questions do you have about it? I'm gonna look. I know we did her post header as well. So I was gonna look and see. We haven't talked about save this recipe.
Cool.
Technically, it's a plugin thing, but I'm fine to talk about this if you guys are here. Okay, I think she means this one because she said yes. And this is the first one. Since you guys are here, we can talk about what?
Isn't that the one that was funky?
This one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I assume that we want to talk about the limitations of like ConvertKit and stuff like that and emails in general. So that's kind of what I'm going to go into, but yeah, ask me some follow-up questions if there's some things that you have questions about. I'm going to pull up another block so we can compare two things at once right now. But the main thing that was difficult with this particular like email sign up on Erin's site, and let's look at her staging site as well. So you can see here, there's like this big gap. It's like pulled up here for some reason. And then it looks kind of nice here, side by side. And I'll tell you, we had to do something weird to make that happen. And then on this site, we have a totally different form. We're using Gravity Forms instead of ConvertKit. So basically what is weird about this is that ConvertKit adds different styles to their forms, and we don't have control over what those are. We'd have to override those styles, and it's something I really don't recommend because if they make a change, then it breaks until we can make a change. So I just try and live with whatever, either choose something different or I try and live with whatever compromises I have to make. And let me see if I can
Right.
show
Laura
it here.
asks, can you still use ConvertKit? Yes, absolutely. So we
Yes.
recommend Kit. Lauren, go ahead.
Okay, so essentially, if you look at this box that I'm overlaying here, see all that white space at the bottom? That's essentially the downside in my mind. You've got all that white space. It means it can't align as nice as I would like it to. It's fine. It works. It doesn't look perfect. And looking perfect is what my brand is used to delivering. So, not having it look perfect is essentially the compromise. On Erin's site here, we were able to get it to be side by side by forcing the width of this content to be small enough or maybe large enough, I don't even remember at this point, where it shows on side by side on desktop. I don't think I had to add any custom CSS. Oh, no, I changed it to Gravity Forms because we couldn't get it to look right. So this is just using Gravity Forms on Erin's kit on her staging site. Her live site, it's stacked like this. We couldn't get it to be side by side unless, let me see if I can make this wider. Is there a max width somewhere? Okay, so if the content area is wide enough, it will display side by side like this. You can see it still has a ton of space. The blue, not the orange, but the blue around it, like you see there's more space up top than below. It's just going to mess with how it centers in the content. And you can only get it to display side by side like that when it's a certain width, which means we assume that they're on desktop. We assume that there's some certain amount of area for that form to fit in. So there's nothing, it has nothing to do with the functionality. ConvertKit forms themselves work fine, and they're okay to embed. And I would generally recommend them, except for the spacing drives me crazy. And there's some limitations that, like, see when I hover this, for whatever reason, the button's not all the same color. It just like doesn't inherit everything I'd like. It's just stuff like that. It's really not a big deal. The reason that we use Gravity Forms is because then we have more control over the styles. I
feel like
add some
it's
very
annoying.
What's that?
I feel like Gravity Forms just overcomplicates it. Like I am sitting here wondering, I put forms on like the Once Coupled site and stuff. Could I just make a full width background that's the same color as what the background of my kit form is? That way, instead of it being like funky and in the middle, it's all at least full width. Like, would that fix some of the forms that I've embedded on our brand sites?
This is a ConvertKit form on her live site, so you don't need to have a background on it.
Okay.
But it's just that the spacing is messed up in the form. So you can't have the spacing look right. You just give up on that battle.
Okay.
Also side rant.
Mm.
I don't trust any forms.
Yeah.
So Gravity Forms or any form plugin at least records your entries. And then I can export them. Okay, well obviously there's no entries on my fake site, but I could export my entries and put them into my form plugin if something happened. How often, not form plugin, but email newsletter provider. How often does that happen? Well, it's happened at least once. And that's enough. You lose 10,000 subscribers. You decide that you're actually just going to back them all up. You're just going to put them into a system that records all of them.
That's fair.
So, yeah, I use form plugins. I don't care about the complication. I want my emails.
Yeah.
Okay, Hannah, do you want to save this today or just save it for tomorrow? It is a plugin thing.
Either way.
All right, let's save it for tomorrow. You guys bring questions of plugin stuff that you want to talk about. I'll talk us through plugins, but I don't really have a plugin agenda, especially because we've slowly been covering like almost every plugin that's installed on the site. So I can look through the plugins real quick and screen share with you guys what's currently on the site. But
Yeah,
if
maybe
there's
what we're
questions
using and
you
if they're
have-
using something else, we need to get it on there.
Yes, that's good to know. If you have a plugin you're going to ask about, let me know so I can install it. There are certain pieces of functionality maybe that we haven't put on the site and you want those on the site. That's probably because they come from plugins. So if you're like, hey, I want to see I want to do diet labels at the above the post title on all of my grids, that's a plugin. So like we could add, I'm not going to add it into the templates for the theme, but like I can show you guys how you would add it. Okay, so we've done List Extension Pro. This is allowing you to do icons and colors. We've loosely talked about automatic block inserter. We haven't done automatic FAQ toggle. It just like turns your FAQs into dropdowns and they have default styles. There's no style settings because it's working with plugins that don't have style settings. So it doesn't really have any settings. It just is it's plug and play. You install it. Category labels block, this is what you would use if you wanted to do diet indicators. It's pretty complicated. We could easily spend half an hour on just that one. Clear content button, we did that. Device display for Blocks Pro. This one, I don't think I've covered, so we can talk about it a little tomorrow. It's very small and pretty niche use case. Easy table of contents, we went through the settings for that already. Featured comment block, I was going to do this.
Ooh.
I was going to make a block for this. So if we have time, I can do it tomorrow, or I can just make one for us and maybe demo it tomorrow. Gravity forms, these are only being used for opt-ins. Grid variation options, that's where you saw like desktop, tablet, mobile, and like you could choose how many posts you wanted to show in a row. This just gives you that interface. Manage available patterns, that's what we looked at today, where you can disable patterns that are added through plugins or themes. Post date smarter, this is the one that allows you to say display the updated or the modified, whichever one's newer. So I definitely use that for most of my sites. Post relationships block, I only have one client using this. I probably wouldn't recommend it. So I'm gonna skip it. I think if most people wanted to use it, they would just use, there is a use case for it. We can look at it tomorrow. Product links, we looked at creating the shop and we created those templates. That's created by a plugin. It just sets up this functionality. All the visuals and stuff are done through the theme. And then post type exclusives, the only site that I have using this right now is Kathy's. We made it specifically for her site. It is the same as the shop, except for instead of doing affiliate links, it's just another type of post type. Like it's a custom like post or page. But now you have one called exclusives. And it's meant to hold anything that like email download. For Kathy's site, we have it where it like shows recipes that are coming up that don't have content, but you could like see something that's coming. But I picture it being able to be used for like email downloads and stuff like that as well. So if you want to offer a lot of downloads, then you could do it through this type of plugin to organize like 50 downloads or something. I was trying to think if one other client uses it, maybe. Advanced operators, we talked about how you use that. And same with exclude. They're pretty niche cases. Post selector, this is free on WordPress. You guys could use this now if you wanted to. That's for me. Remove last items from breadcrumbs. This is a plug and play as well. So see how Erin's site says snickerdoodle bars in the breadcrumbs, and then it's again here in the title. This plugin just hides that last item. So it would say home, brownies and bars, and then this would not show so that it's not repeated. SVG, support SVG. This is what allows me to upload SVG icons. I definitely recommend one of these. If you're going to use icons on your site, using SVGs is going to look so much nicer than using PNGs. And then these are just for demo purposes. So those are the ones I have installed. There's only like one or two that we haven't talked about. So you guys are going to need to bring content for tomorrow, or we're going to have like a 15-minute meeting. Actually, they're like, actually, Lauren, we're just not attending.
No one said that.
I know. Okay. I think I've bored you guys to tears. I think we should wrap it up. I've only been saying I would for 30 minutes now.
Sounds good to me.
Fair. All right. Bye, guys. See you guys in the group.
Bye, everyone.